Into the last subtopic, physical and economic linkage. So there is no simple pattern to these two relationship. So between trade, environment and development. So depends on the sector, the country as well as the markets. So policies, trade and also trade liberalization may be good or bad for the environment and development. In fact, they will usually be both at once good in some ways and bad in the other way. So this subtopic illustrates the point by listing and explain the complex physical and economic linkage that can bind the trade and sustainable development. For the most part, this consists of the impacts of trade on environment and development. So trade flows and trade liberalization have at least four types of physical and economic impacts on environment and development, which are product effects, scale effect, structural effects and direct effect. So we shall look into one by one. First are the product effects. Okay, so product effects occur when the traded products themselves have an impact on the environment. So on the positive side, trade may lead to the spreading of new technologies for protecting the environment, such as microbial techniques for cleaning up the oil spills, or it may more rapidly spread goods or technologies that have less environmental impact, for example like solar power technology or more fuel efficient automobiles than those currently used. So openness to trade and investment can help in contribute to the development objective by facilitating transfer of new technology and improve management systems. However, on the negative side, trade can facilitate the international movement of goods that, from an environmental perspective, it would never be traded. Okay, so with hazardous waste and toxic material, the environment risk will increase and the goods are transported since the spillage is always possible. Such goods may end up being dumped in countries without the technical or administrative capacity and without having a properly dispose of these goods lah. Even this country need to accept those goods to be disposed in their country. So trade also make possible the over exploitation of the species to the point of extinction. So there is rarely enough domestic demand to create such pressure. So a subset of product effects, sometimes termed as technology effects, is associated with the changes in the way how products are made and depends on the technology that has been used. So technology effects the stem from the way in which trade liberalization affects the technology transfer. So the positive effects of technology, it result when the output of pollution per unit of economic product is being reduced. So foreign producers may transfer a cleaner technology abroad when a trade measure or agreement result in a more open market and business climate more conducive towards the investments. Trade-induced growth and competitive market pressures generated by the liberalization. It can hasten the process ataupun kita kata it can speed up the process of capital and technology modernization. Okay, so itu adalah product effects. Next, number 2, we shall look into on scale effects. Okay, trade and trade liberalization can expand the level of economic activity by making that activity more efficient. So it explains the ways in which trade can increase the efficiency, produce more goods with the same given set of natural resources, labor, machines and technology. So this expansion essentially create additional wealth. So it can give a positive effects on the environment as well as on the development. So it has obvious development benefit, although the development is more than the economic growth itself. Okay, so we all know that growth is very important for the development in the most southern countries. So we should take note that, however, these three important qualifications are linked between trade and development. First, distribution matters. Okay, if trade increase the inequity by creating wealth that is most concentrated in the hands of the wealthy, so it works against important development objective. Number 2, not everyone will benefit from the trade liberalization. Inherent in the wealth creating process, there is destruction of inefficient firms and also sectors. Number 3, the potential of trade is to increase the wealth is just that. Okay, meaning that hanya increasekan kekayaan sektor yang mempunyai potensi sahaja. So, in order to enjoy the trade full potential, countries may need to devote, for example, there is a large amount of resources to build a building capacity in their export sectors. Okay, so where trade creates wealth, two types of environmental benefits may follow. Okay. First, increased efficiency can directly benefit the environmental, since the efficient firms need fewer natural resources input and pollute less. So in this sense, the basis of comparative advantage between the efficient use of resources and the resources input also underlies the goals of sustainable development. Number two, the efficiency can benefit the environment indirectly secara tidak langsung by making people wealthier. So it more likely to demand stronger environmental protection. So this is not to say that the poor people do not value the environment. Indeed, their poverty may mean they depend on it more directly than do the rich. Okay, kita bukan nak katakan orang yang orang kata apa kurang kemampuan, tidak menilai ataupun tidak menghargai persekitaran. Cumanya bagi mereka mereka yang kurang mampu ni kan, kemiskinan mereka memberikan satu orang kata apa, satu kesan ataupun this poverty is actually depend directly towards the environment itself, okay, rather than the rich people. Okay, number 3, in terms of structural effects. Okay, so structural effects, so trade liberalization will lead to changes in the composition of a country's economy that causing it to produce more of goods and it makes well or has in abundance to trade for those it does not. For example, a heavily forested country that did not trade would produce only enough forest product for its own people. Okay, so under a trading scenario, it might produce enough for export as well, increase the size of forestry slice in the nation's economic pie. So this kind of structural effect can be either positive or negative for the environment and also development. Okay, so misal kata kalau sebuah negara tu dia heavily producer forest kan, mungkin dekat negara dia dah lebih daripada cukup kan untuk dia bekalkan kayu-kayu balak. Therefore, this country will trade dia punya forestry resources. So on the positive, we shall look into on the positive side lah. Kita akan tengok on the positive side. Okay. So on the positive side, if the composition of the economy change, it less pollute sector have a bigger share of the pie. So the trade has resulted in the environmental improvement. So at least at the national level, the polluting firms may have simply moved to a different country. So similarly with the trade liberalization, it would help in fostering the development of the economy. Okay, the sector will have a stronger links towards the domestic economy, increase the employment prospect and enhance the potential in creating the income equity. Okay, so for example, Ford and also GM lah, these two companies are two giants of US automobile manufacturing that have declared that they will buy only from suppliers that are certified as followed in the ISO 14001, which comply with the environmental management system. Okay, so dia dah shortlisted dah kan dia nak supplier yang mana. Okay, so Ford and GM dia nak supplier yang hanya orang kata apa, yang hanya diiktiraf lah and mempunyai sijil ISO 14001. Okay, so if ISO certification leads towards the environmental improvement, then Ford and GM will have forced such improvement down to the supply chain to foreign and domestic suppliers. Okay, so itu dia punya the positive side of having the structural effects. Okay, on the negative side, otherwise, if the goods that a country makes well are based on the natural resources or pollution intensive, then the trade liberalization would increase the share of such industries in the national economy. Okay. Kita boleh katakan without having appropriate environmental policy, it would increase the pollution lah. So similarly, with the trade liberalisation, it may change the mix of industry to attract those in advancing the development objective. Okay, so the size of the economy might increase, and the income distribution will increase as well. So basically untuk this negative side, kita boleh tengok in agriculture punya sector lah kan. Okay, agriculture punya sector. Okay, lastly on the direct effect. Okay, so direct effects are environmental impact that caused by the very fact of trade rather than caused indirectly by the economy or legal changes ataupun kita kata policy revise lah. So one such impact is the pollution. Okay, so pollution associated with the transport of traded goods, whether by truck, by ship or by air, traded good must be somehow moved from their place of production to their point of final sale. And it will increase trade in goods, which increase transport of pollution jugalah. So studies of the environmental impacts of the European Union, EU internal market predicted so EU has predicted that the increased pollution, mostly from the truck transport, would dwarf all other environmental impact as well as outweigh the environmental benefit to be derived from the integration. Okay, so another direct impact come from invasive species of plants and animals that are internationally transported with the traded goods. Okay, for example, pests arriving on the produce. Okay, contohnya macam kalau you tengok dekat Australia, dekat custom Australia, basically dia orang akan check luggage and then foods packaging. Sometimes this passenger dia bawa orang kata apa, bawa makanan-makanan yang actually makanan ni pun walaupun dia macam kuaci sekali, kuaci pun, kecil macam kuaci pun, dia boleh memberi kemudaratan kepada alam persekitaran dalam sesebuah negara lah. Mungkin insect tersebut kan, serangga tersebut, dia orang kata apa, boleh merebak lah dekat dalam sesuatu negara. Okay, so for example like pests arriving on produce. Okay, contohnya macam kalau buah-buah ke, bunga-bunga ke kan, mesti ada serangga-serangga tu. Okay, process of delivering the goods, for example like the packaging material, mungkin packaging material tu susah untuk dispose lah, or in the board of the transport vehicles. And the Asian longhorn beetle so salah satu insect kita adalah the Asian longhorn beetle, satu kumbang tu. It has poised to devastate the hardwood forest on the northeastern United States, so probably arrive in the wooden packaging crates from Asia. Okay, mungkin serangga tu dia tak sesuai untuk untuk cuaca dekat United States, hanya sesuai dekat region Asia. Therefore, this kind of direct effect does give impacts towards the international trade.